I'm Mayor Barbara McMorrow of Freehold Township, and on behalf of Deputy Mayor Lester Preston, Committeeman Anthony Amiato, Tom Cook, and David Falcon, I welcome you to From the Mayor's Desk. And we're very pleased to have with us for our show today Dean Richard Pfeffer from the Freehold campus of Brookdale Community College. And we smile because before the show, I was just saying to the Dean, I'm so used to calling it the Western Monmouth a campus of Brookdale Community College, and it's now the Freehold campus. So perhaps we could begin, Dean, first, of course, by my thanking you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. To talk about what a community college is in general. Everybody knows Brookdale Community College, and they think it's been here forever. Really, that's not so. In the history of New Jersey, it's pretty recent, and it's just a great educational facility that we have here, an opportunity for our residents to learn and grow. And I'd like you to maybe begin by telling us what community colleges are. How did they begin?
Well, thank you. First, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be with you. It is kind of interesting. Community colleges, people think about them and they know them, but the history of them is something that eludes most of us. It's pretty much a uniquely American institution and began in the early 1900s when the University of Chicago was finding a lot of their applicants really didn't meet some of their entry requirements. And they created Joliet Community College, the very first community college in the country, as kind of a bridge for students who really had the intellect but didn't have the schooling, in essence, to get into the University of Chicago. And they limped along for a while, but really after World War II, the community college movement in America blossomed with all of our soldiers returning from war and needing skills, employable skills. And at that point, a lot of the community colleges really were more technical to create plumbers and engineers and electricians and roofers and people to build America, really, the new America in the 50s
That's
and
right.
60s. Around the mid to late 60s, Monmouth County, which always has been a very forward-looking county, I believe,
Yes.
worked with the state, who was developing what they saw as a statewide system. A lot of debate whether they should be regional schools like our state universities, but there was the decision that each county would be responsible for their own unique community college. So really there are now 19 out of the 21 counties, a couple of counties combined. Raritan Valley is Somerset and Hunterdon counties, and Atlantic and Cape May has kind of combined, I think because of numbers. But certainly Monmouth County was strong enough to support their own community college. And Brookdale came about, really, we were originally on a Nike base.
Really?
That was our first start. And then part of the Thompson estate, the Brookdale Farms, was deeded to the county for a community college, and the other part for Thompson Park. And that's what most people know in Lincroft as Brookdale Community College.
And ergo, that's how we got the name of Brookdale
Exactly.
instead of Monmouth Community
Right.
College, like Ocean Community College. Or
Exactly, and of course we had Monmouth University. There was no Ocean University or Gloucester University, so it was a little easier. They didn't want it to be confusing. We work very well with Monmouth University, so
Yes.
it's a nice bit of a partnership there. So in the early stages, we had a lot of the technical and vocational kinds of programs, which we still do have. In automotive and fashion merchandising, and certainly the health services, which is huge, the largest industry in Monmouth County. So our nursing programs and rad tech and ultrasound and those kinds of programs are very, respiratory therapy are very big. In the mid-70s, 80s, we began to facilitate a transfer mission also for students who wanted to go to a four-year college but didn't have the finances perhaps, and I think that's something to come back to later because it's
Yes.
so important. So we began doing more and more transfer, and today about 80% of our degree students at Brookdale are transferring to a four-year college, and transferring, I might add, without significant debt and pretty much to whatever school they want to because of the quality that Brookdale's kind of created.
I think that's a good point to bring up, because Brookdale has become so much more than just the community college. Many students who could go to a four-year college choose to go to Brookdale first for the first 2 years because of the cost savings. You get
Absolutely.
just as good an education and those credits transfer, maybe we'll talk about that, or maybe we'll talk about it now while we're thinking of it. Communiversity.
Yeah.
I don't know if our viewers know what a communiversity is, but Brookdale is doing a fabulous job with that. I know from when I wore my other hat as principal, that many of my students began at Brookdale because they thought they were just gonna go to 2 years at Brookdale. And then found, because Brookdale offered them a great deal of support in academics and financial, they were able to, after 2 years, an associate's degree, go communiversity to Georgian Court, to Rutgers, to, I think Monmouth we said
We had
was
Monmouth we
one.
worked with as a partner, but not part of the communiversity.
Okay,
But let me come back to that, because
Okay.
you're.
I'll make a note so we don't forget.
Well, I'm gonna argue a point in a little bit, where
Good.
you said that students could come to Brookdale and get just as good an education as they would in a four-year college. I would contend that they might get a better education for the first 2 years. And I'll back that up a little bit.
Good.
The four-year colleges, by and large, are really invested in the third and fourth year, their career studies. And many of them are really invested in having faculty who are publishing, so your classes are gonna be 200 or 300 students, many have been through that,
Yes.
with a teaching assistant. When you come to a community college, Brookdale in particular, you're getting a faculty member, most who have doctorates or masters, who are there because they want to teach. That's their goal, freshman, sophomore. Rutgers absolutely will teach English Comp and World Civ, but it's not their passion.
Mhm.
It's our passion.
Mhm.
And I would contend that many of the schools are happy to have the students do their first 2 years at a community
yes.
college. They become very, very well prepared when they move on to the four-year college level. And I think the testament to that is what you were just saying, not just the communiversity. Our students transfer almost everywhere. So as an example, last year, and I do this every year, but it's kind of the same, we sent, I believe it was 2 students to Cornell, 3 students to Columbia,
Wow.
2 students to Georgetown, sent a couple of students to American University. These are some of the best schools in the
Absolutely.
nation.
Absolutely.
And they transfer there as juniors.
Mhm.
And what I say to people, because the myth of the community college at 13th grade, it's just an extension of high school, is just so bizarre for me to hear, because when our students go as juniors to Cornell or
Mhm.
Columbia,
Mhm.
it's not because Columbia said, oh gee, this poor community college
Right.
kid, let's give him a break.
Right, they
It's
wouldn't do
because,
that at all.
no, it's
Yeah.
because they expect them to succeed at the junior level,
And
and
they
they
do.
do,
And they do.
absolutely. So it's kind of exciting. Now, you mentioned the communiversity and in Freehold in particular, our partnership with Rutgers. The communiversity was established, about 10 or 15 years ago, when there was a need to have accessible public four-year education in Monmouth County. Right now, the only schools that students can really get to easily if they wanted to stay in Monmouth County would be Rutgers. And they tease along with us to say, Rutgers is about probably 15 miles and 2 hours away.
That's right. I've traveled those roads.
It's tough. It's a tough travel.
Yes.
And Georgian Court and Monmouth, both exceptional schools that are in our reach, but both private universities and a little more costly. So the communiversity was developed to establish some articulation agreements where with New Jersey City University, with Georgian Court, with Montclair for a while, and I'm going to hold Rutgers for just a second, where students could complete their associate's degree at Brookdale and then go right on to complete those bachelor's degrees right in Monmouth County at our Wall campus, actually. Now, Rutgers was something a little different. Rutgers is very, very special. We have a unique relationship with Rutgers that they're beginning to duplicate now around the state. Rutgers is housed right in our Freehold campus. They have an office there, a staff, Joe Walsh, who's an extraordinary administrator, an academic also, who handles that. So we have about a dozen programs at Brookdale. They range from the humanities to social science to criminal justice, where you can do those 2 years in Freehold, then walk right across the hall
And you're in
and
Rutgers.
complete your bachelor's in Rutgers. And again, Joe Walsh, who's the administrator, always says it, this isn't Rutgers light. These are Rutgers faculty teaching at the same level in New Brunswick or Camden or Newark or any of their campuses, and when you get your degree, it says Rutgers University, there's not an asterisk, it's a Rutgers degree. And it's just incredible, because you get a smaller field. New Brunswick is an extraordinary place, and people want to go away, and I understand that. But the ability to just stay right at home, have the support networks of Brookdale, even though they've graduated Brookdale, they're still there, and Rutgers, right in the same building is unique. It just doesn't
It's really
exist in many
incredible.
places,
It's
and
really
we're very
incredible.
proud of it.
And I don't know if many of our viewers know that about Rutgers. And our campus is located right off Route 9. This is the Freehold campus,
Yep.
right off Route 9.
We're a bit hard, we're right in back of the Bank of America. I know in the movies, people have to pay for little plugs for their organization, so maybe the tenant, maybe Freehold can get a little bit, but right in back of the Bank of America building on Route 9, across the street from the Burlington Coat Factory and a little mall up there. And it's just a convenient location, it's a beautiful building, and it's just a great place
I've been
to be.
there. It is.
Terrific
It is a
staff.
great
It's
place.
It's a nice
It's a
environment.
nice campus.
Yes,
It is. Easy parking, which
Yeah.
is always important
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Easy commute.
And we do a lot of the same kind of student activities. We have a club, we have, tomorrow we're having a transfer workshop, we're having a character painter come out. We have a lot of the kinds of activities that you would find in Lincroft. Now again, it's not Lincroft.
Right.
We don't have we don't have sports teams, we don't have a performing arts center. But it's still providing the opportunity to get a Brookdale education at a much more convenient location for some people. If you're coming from Howell or it's just a little easier, or Freehold even, to
Right.
just, they get to sleep a half hour later, so.
Right.
That's a big thing to the kids.
Or any of the western Monmouth area that's right
Absolutely,
here, sure,
absolutely.
Marlborough and Alvin, all the
Yeah.
towns that are here. Where would, if I was interested, if someone is watching and says, well, that sounds something I'd like to do, would they just call the main campus number?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the main campus number is 732-625-7002. It's pretty, but I love people to stop in. It's, if you're in the neighborhood, drive up to the campus and take a look at it. For any of the parents who have kids that are juniors and seniors, and you're thinking about, what are we gonna do next year? What's gonna be the best option for us? Take a look at the campus. It's just wonderful, and we talked about it earlier. The savings is just mind-boggling. It just makes no sense to me. I have to say, if you're getting into Harvard, go to Harvard.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go to Stanford, have a good trip out west, it's beautiful, you should go there. But the vast majority of the students can get everything they want by coming to a community college first. In some cases, maybe transfer to a college that they might not have gotten into right out of high school,
That's true.
and save a fortune. And
Yeah.
I don't say that word lightly. It's a lot of money not be in debt going in, so it's an important factor.
Now, if they're going to Rutgers and they're doing that at our Freehold campus, is the tuition the same as if you were going to university, or are you paying the Rutgers?
You're gonna pay the Rutgers standard
Okay.
tuition rate, but
Okay.
what you're gonna save in most cases, I would think, is room and board,
Absolutely.
which is about, I think around $20,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in and of itself.
Or if you're
A fairly
commuting
big
back and forth to
savings.
Rutgers, you don't have to do that, it's right here,
Absolutely.
and that saves you wear and tear on the
Oh,
car and
gas
gas
and
prices
absolutely.
and everything. So really, it's here in our own backyard. Now, what if someone is working and wants to go part-time to either Brookdale or to Rutgers, to any of the programs that are offered, the degrees that are offered? Is that doable?
Absolutely, certainly Brookdale.
Mhm.
We began really more since we were vocational in the 60s and
Mhm.
70s. We still have a very, very large selection of evening classes. So almost everything that's running during the day, the standard general education classes, most of them are offered in the evening. There might be some exceptions to that in some of the more specific programs,
Mhm.
but by and large, everything's offered in the evenings. We have a lot of students who come part-time. They're working, they have families. It's a difficult task for them to make that time. So a couple of evenings a week. So that's an easy one. And then the transfer, again, each institution determines for itself what their schedule
going
will
to
be,
offer.
so.
Now, we talk mostly about the high school student going into Brookdale, but let's say that, you marry, your children are grown, and now you would like to go back to school. So adults also should feel that they can go to Brookdale and get their degree as well.
Well, let's give you a quick adult story about one of the most remarkable people I've ever met in my life. My wife.
Well said.
I'm in a second marriage, and initially she raised her family, and when they were old enough, and never did get to go to school, bright enough, got into colleges, but got married early at 20 and raised a family. When she felt it was time, she came back to Brookdale, got her associate's degree at Brookdale. When she got out, actually got a job working for Brookdale.
How nice was that?
Went on to Kane University to get her bachelor's degree, Monmouth University for a master's degree in counseling, and ultimately just retired recently as the vice president of student affairs at Felician College in Rutherford and Lodi. So it's
What a lovely story.
It's a spectacular success story to me. We have lots of adults who have done that. It's just an easy kind of a transition. We make it convenient for people. We've had a number of instances where we've had parents and their kids coming at the same time. We've graduated people. I had somebody, it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, a gentleman came up to me in his early 80s, I believe, and said, I'm graduating, am I gonna be your oldest graduate? And I looked at him and said, you're not even close. We've had somebody, I think 91 was our
That's right.
oldest
I
graduate.
think the Asbury
Yeah.
Park Press did a story
Yeah.
on it, in fact. Yes, I think
So
you're right.
absolutely for adults from their, whatever age, we consider from 25, 26 on to be non-traditional anymore, so.
So even if I'm working at a job now, and I think, you know what, if I can get an associate's degree, I can work my way up in the company, or I can seek other employment, there's no problem with applying to Brookdale.
And it makes a difference, absolutely makes a difference for people when they're looking for different jobs, when they're looking to advance within the organization. Not only having the degree, it's the skills that go along with it. It's the understanding that you know how to write better, that you're more articulate, that you can converse with people more comfortably. Those make huge differences, I think, in people's lives, much less the job opportunities for them.
Now, would you also offer support, say you're going back to school, wow, you haven't had algebra in, 20 years, you have you don't remember all those things that you may need for your first 2 years at Brookdale. Is there a way to get some?
Absolutely. We do a placement test for everybody coming in because we're about success. And it doesn't help people if you put them into a class they're not really able to succeed in. It's just going to ruin everything. So we have a series of what we call them foundational courses. They're the same price, unfortunately, and we're still paying the same faculty.
Yes.
Actually, some more qualified. We have smaller class levels, more intensive instruction in them. But in both math, reading, and writing, we have foundational classes. So if somebody's a little weak in those areas, we'll put them through, based on the placement tests, what their needs are, and build those skills up. Because math is a subject that everybody is going to have to take to graduate from college. It's one of the most, I guess, underappreciated classes. Everyone says, well, what do I need math for? You need math for everything. So it's particularly important because it's a skill that a lot of people, like you say, have been lacking. Or even for our incoming freshmen from the high schools. Most of them are taking algebra their freshman, sophomore year, so by the time they're seniors, they haven't had algebra for a couple of years, and that's one of the entry requirements. So we work with them on that.
And I think that takes away the fear factor of going to school as well, because even if, I'm not good at this, I can get the help in math or writing or whatever it is so that I can get into the classes and succeed.
Absolutely.
You made a very good point that Brookdale is all about success, and I found that to be incredibly true. They work with the individual students, no matter what the age, no matter what the goal.
Yeah.
They really go out of their way to help the professors themselves, the teachers there, really see the class as individual members, and that's critical in any teaching and learning environment.
I couldn't agree more. And again, to take that a step further, at the Freehold campus, we have 2 staff members who are absolutely sensational, who are primarily focused on tutoring.
Now, see,
So
I didn't know
one
that.
math, computer science as a focus, and then the other one is English and the humanities and social sciences as a focus. So if you're writing a paper, for instance, and you're thinking, I just don't even know where to begin with this, we have somebody that can help you. Say, well, let's do it. Let's take a look at this. What's the subject? Let's look at this. See if we can develop a little outline, and we'll walk you through the process So we have 2 people, and in Lincroft, there is a tutoring center. So it's support beyond just the foundational classes. As you move forward, we have people that can work with you.
Well, and you mentioned computers, so if I'm coming into a world which is really all computers now, but let's say in my life, I have not had that much. I've been at home perhaps,
Yep.
I just have not had the opportunity to really learn computers. So there would be that opportunity to learn so that I'm comfortable going forward, because everything now is technology.
Everything. Well, I have to say, last night at our Board of Trustees meeting, we had a presentation from some of the students in our creative writing classes. Now, yes, they're working on computers and word processing, and it is a marvel. I remember the old typewriters,
Yes.
and if you're doing a 10-page paper,
Yes.
and you look at it and go, oh, I should have said this, you're not going back and rewriting those 10 pages.
Or you
Now-
get to the end and your footnotes don't fit, you had to retype the entire page.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I don't want to overestimate technology. The creative writing students came in and talked about their experiences at Brookdale and read some poetry, but there's still a world that is focused on our emotions, on our feelings, on our intellect. Yes, the technology plays a big role in how we translate those anymore, but I'm still a fan of the liberal arts and
I'm
the
smiling because I'm a
social
former
sciences
teacher of English,
so
so you're telling me something that's very near and dear to me, for sure, yes.
So I think that the technology is so important, and it's really changing our lives. There's nobody who's not using their smartphones, and there's this and that, but that's not our focus. That's a tool, and we're gonna teach people how to use that tool comfortably, but our focus is on the mind, not the technology, really.
If I don't have a computer, I can still go to Brookdale if I don't have one at home, and I can still get my assignments done.
Absolutely. 26 computers in our Student Success Center in the Freehold campus. The Bankier Library has, I forget the number now, probably about 150 computers that are open for student use. And of course, for your town, for Freehold, the library
Yes.
is a
Right.
remarkable access, a resource that I suggest to people often to take advantage of. So there's lots of ways that will help with that also.
So whether it's a student right out of high school or adult who wants to return or anyone in between, Brookdale reaches out and kind of embraces them at whatever level he or she is, so that they can start at that point and move forward.
Can you come work for us? That's exactly the truth. I couldn't have said it better.
Which is great for everyone to know, because I know many people would like to go back, but they're afraid, and there really isn't a fear factor, because you're gonna work with whomever it is
Yeah.
to make sure that there is a success, and you've mentioned that a number of times, that Brookdale wants you to succeed, and I think that's so incredible in a learning environment, when you feel that people care enough about you as an individual. We talk about those lecture classes that some of the other schools have, and they have to, and that's part of, but when you're sitting with 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 people, you're not getting that one-to-one. You either get it or you don't.
No.
So this way, even if you don't get it the first time around, don't give up, don't be disheartened, because people are there to support you.
And again, it's interesting in terms of the reach that Brookdale has. Right now, about a quarter of the high school graduates from each year's class come to Brookdale as their first choice. We get the STARS
Yes.
students, and so we're getting, a wide range. So
You mentioned STARS, maybe for our viewers, you'll just tell what a STARS
STARS
is.
is a program that the state has established,
Mhm.
which is really wonderful, which will provide for the top, I think it's the top 15% in your class now at the end of your junior year, free tuition at the community college for the first 2 years, and then a partial tuition going on to the 4-year school. So it's really a great opportunity. We get probably 200-300 STAR students every year who are at the top of their classes.
And they choose Brookdale.
And they choose Brookdale. So it's really an environment that reaches out to everybody, as you were saying before.
Well, I really think it's from, I'm just going to Brookdale, to, I'm going to Brookdale, and then I plan to, it's a step to either further education, improving at your place of employment, or just enriching your own mind.
Absolutely, and I should add, we have a very, very, we talk all the time about the credit programs. That's really the mission, the underpinning of our mission. We also have a mission in terms of lifelong learning. And we have a continuing professional studies division that does an extraordinary job. Now, we have a few of the classes out in the Freehold campus, most of them are in Lincroft. But they range from computer skills, so if you don't want to take a credit class, they'll be more specific in terms of, do I want to learn Excel, do I want to learn word processing. They do the kind of lifelong learning sorts of classes, they do trips, they do remedial work, they do professional in the healthcare industry and in business, just remarkable opportunities.
Now, what was it called again?
It's Continuing Professional Studies, CPS. We just changed it from business and community development. And it's astounding, and they send out a brochure every year. People can go right to our website and pull it up. They do remarkable, both from career opportunities, short term, more than ours are a 2-year program, or longer if you're going part-time. But they do programs that can be 6, 8, 10 months that lead to, medical billing and coding, phlebotomy, things like that, where there are really career opportunities immediately. So, as well as the lifelong learning kinds of programs, it's an astounding resource. I think most people know, and we get probably 15,000, 20,000 students a year coming through there, and still people don't know it, I think, as well as, again, because we think college, so we're thinking the credit side of it, and that's my focus, but I don't want to leave this program without at least mentioning that
important.
Opportunity. It's just...
We had talked, when you say lifelong learners, seniors can also, or anyone, can anyone audit a class, or that's for seniors?
Anyone can audit a class, but we do have a program where seniors, 65 and older, can take credit classes at Brookdale for no tuition. They'll still pay fees and books if they need to. And the reason many of them audit simply means there's really no record that you took the class, but you're also not required to take the tests, to do the papers, if you miss a class, it doesn't matter because you're not going to get a grade. It's really more for self-enrichment. And we have, probably 300 or 400 seniors a year who come take our art classes and our history classes and our English classes and love it.
Just for the joy of learning.
Just for the joy of learning, and add to me a dimension to those classes. If you have somebody who's in their 70s and 80s taking a class in World War II studies or they add a richness to this. They've lived through this. We've talked about the Depression. We have people, if not who've lived through it, certainly their families have, experienced it and they know stories. It adds another dimension, I think, to the class that you can't have any other way. So it's a value added for us as well as something special for the seniors, I think.
I think that's fabulous. We talked in earlier programs about, keeping healthy, and we talked about food, and we talked about exercise, and we talked about our parks and all that, as I said. But this is also so vital for your health as well, to keep your mind active, and Brookdale is offering so many ways to do it.
Oh, absolutely, and more and more. Our president, Dr. Murphy,
yes,
who is one of the most amazing people I have ever met in my life. In fact, I'm in Freehold now. I've been at Brookdale for almost 30 years, 25 years, in more or less the same kinds of roles, enrollment management and those kinds of positions. And really, just in conversation with Dr. Murphy, I ended up switching roles with the dean of the Freehold campus. He took my position and I took his. That's the way she thinks. What not just for the community, for our own staff. How do you make our lives better? Because that's going to help everybody. But her vision for the college, creating guided pathways is something that she's been very, very invested in terms. And guided pathways are making it a little easier for students to understand the process. For a young 18-year-old to come in and have somebody say, well, what do you want to take?
Right.
I mean, it's overwhelming. But we kind of know the classes that they need to take for their interest. So she believes that we need to give them some career assessments up front, and we need to give them a direction. They can change it, of course, but her vision, she's kind of reestablished Brookdale. We've been through some tough times. The whole, certainly the county through Sandy and some of the recessions has made everybody struggle a little bit. We are so lucky to have Dr. Murphy, who's really turned Brookdale back into what it has been in the past. And it didn't really lose that, but I think it lost some of the luster over the years. I think people kind of forgot what this college was, and Dr. Murphy really
Kind of re-imbued it with
absolutely.
the spirit
Absolutely.
of educating the entire person,
Yeah.
of all aspects.
Yeah.
Anyone who lives here can find something to do. I know there's even trips that Brookdale sponsor. Do they still sponsor
Still
trips?
doing all kinds of trips, again, mostly through the continuing professional studies,
Mhm.
but our student life and activities and our clubs, we have about 50 different clubs and organizations at Brookdale. And they do things, and again, I'm glad you mentioned it, because it's a kind of a great thing. I'll give you a perfect example. Every year, the Criminal Justice Division sponsors a trip to the Eastern States Penitentiary, which does one of those Halloween kind of terror behind the walls, they call it. And it's an incredible trip. Every year it sells out. But faculty members go along with it. And they talk about the history of the Eastern States Penitentiary. What was the penal system like in America in the 1800s, the 1900s? What's it becoming now? So it becomes not just a fun kind of activity, it becomes a learning experience. So we do a lot of those kinds of trips. As well as trips to the botanical gardens and to the museums, and we'll always get a docent to walk through and explain a little bit more, so when you see a Magritte painting, you don't look at it and go, what is that? You know, they can explain what it is and why it is, so it's really a wonderful
And
opportunity.
you have the performing arts there in the Lincroft campus. They always have productions in their theater that people
Yeah.
can go to, and
Spectacular productions.
it's not far from us in Freehold Township at all to get to the Lincroft campus as well.
And athletics, again, that's a part of the college experience that people just don't understand. Our athletic program is mind-boggling. I swell with pride when I talk about it. Our women's soccer team just won their third consecutive National Junior College Championships. Unheard of. 3 consecutive years. Katie Miller, who's the coach, is a graduate of Brookdale. Was on the soccer team when she was there. That's kind of what Brookdale is. Our softball team has won 3 national championships. We've had national champs in tennis, and I mean, it's just astounding. So if you want to see a great basketball game, you want to see a soccer match, you won't find anything better than what's going on at Brookdale.
You can just get in your car and go down the road a piece,
Absolutely.
and there it is. And if I wanted to know the schedules and I wanted to know more, I could just go online on the website.
Right online. It's Brookdale CC, Brookdale Community College, so www.brookdalecc. And it's a great website. It's fairly easy to navigate.
You mean I could even do it?
I'm sure you could comfortably.
Good. You know what, Dean Pfeffer, I can't thank you enough. I thought I knew all there was to know about Brookdale, and I found out that there's so much more that I learned today, and I'm sure that as the years go on, I'm going to learn more and more. It's a wonderful asset to have. It's right here in our own backyard in the Freehold campus. I hope our residents here and in our neighboring communities take advantage of it. If they wanted to speak with you, they could call the number
Absolutely.
and ask for you.
Nope.
And
I would love it.
you are an asset also. You really are. You bring such a joie de vivre to the position. Really, you're so passionate about it, and I think that's part of what Brookdale should be most proud, is that like you, the staff members all have that desire to inspire our students to go on and to achieve, and that's what education's all about. And if we looked in the dictionary for the definition of an educational facility, there would be Brookdale Community College.
I can't thank you enough for having me on the show. It really is a pleasure being
It really is, and I hope maybe you'll come back again and we'll talk about more things that Brookdale is doing.
I'd
It's
love
an
it. I agree.
ongoing educational facility, and programs that really just change as our community changes, as our times change. So I'm looking forward to it. And I thank you again so much.
Thank you so much, Barb. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then until our next show, this is Mayor Barbara McMorrow saying stay safe and stay well.